We got drums here in the Republican Party. Dan Crenshaw is going to take on the Trump wing. Now, this is not a fight you see every day. Crenshaw pretends to be with the Trump wing, but philosophically, ideologically, he is not. So let us show you the proof. First, Representative Crenshaw.
China just has to prepare for, subjugating their own people. That's one of their big focuses. Right. And then they have to focus on screwing with us. Maybe not defeating us, but maybe that's eventually their goal, but screwing with us. Russia is primarily focused on their periphery, right? They want the Ukraine, et cetera. That's usually what they care about.
Right.
But we have to care about everything. And it should be that way. I think too many on our side get hung up on this issue. And they pretend like we can be an ostrich and hide, and that just makes you an easy target. It's unbelievably naive reasoning, and dangerous reasoning, and stupid. I can't say that enough. Everybody who's ever screamed "No more endless wars" as their foreign policy is a freaking idiot.
Everyone who has screamed "No more endless wars" is an idiot. Interesting. Well, let's go to the next video and find out who that idiot is.
We are ending the era of endless wars. In its place is a renewed, clear-eyed focus on defending America's vital interests. It is not the duty of US troops to solve ancient conflicts in faraway lands that many people have never even heard of.
Oops, that looks like fighting words. So, any real reporter should ask Dan Crenshaw, are you saying Donald Trump is an idiot? Because you seem like you very clearly said that. You said anyone, including people in your own camp in the Republican Party, who talks about endless wars are idiots, and Trump clearly said it. And by the way, that's not the only time he said it. So this is a real divide, guys. This is not a fake divide. In the past, they had fake divides. Tea Party would be even more extreme right wing, and the other Republicans would pretend that they were against the Tea Party, and they would happily get pulled to the further and further extreme right, because it was all about tax cuts, all about deregulating business. That was the old days when they used fake populism to get corporate handouts. Now, the Republican Party is still 90% that same philosophy, but there is an actual populist wing here. Now, a lot of that populist wing is totally fake as well. Donald Trump, what did he do? Gave tax cuts for the rich. That's the only thing he passed, right? But there are some issues they genuinely disagree on, which I'll give them credit for. In the Democratic Party, disagreement is not allowed. Anytime you disagree with Pelosi or Biden, not just Democrats, but everybody in mainstream media will yell, "How dare you? Bow your head." I mean, that's what they did to Nina Turner in her campaign in Ohio. It was the national press that was outraged that Nina Turner would not bow down to Joe Biden and do everything that he commanded of her. They said that was a giant mark against her. How dare she oppose leadership? What does she have, an independent mind? So here I am giving credit to the right wing. No, there's a real divide here on some issues, and they actually have a disagreement, and it's real, and it's not just driven by donor money. Good on them. And so in this, and I'm gonna tell you which side I'm gonna come out on, right? But it's not just Donald Trump. There are other people in the Republican Party against endless wars. Here's Matt Gaetz.
I think the problem is that these military contractors want to have as many of our brave men and women spread all around the world as possible, because somebody's got to sell them toilet paper, somebody's got to provide housing, somebody's there preparing the MREs, and it is all about money, and I resent the hell out of it. If you think that you can replicate America in the deserts of the Middle East, you are seeing a mirage in that desert. You cannot build democracies out of blood and sand and Arab militias. The best way to show peace through strength is not to have weakness with a diluted, over-deployed force in unconstitutional wars. The way to show peace through strength is to be the most inspirational version of ourselves.
Now, I hate to do it, but I agree with Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump, only on this issue. But I'm not on a partisan team. I don't care. I don't work at MSNBC. I don't have to kiss Democratic ass 24/7 like they have to, right? I don't work at Fox News. I don't have to kiss Republican ass or Trump ass or any of that stuff. We're independent thinkers here. And I think there's a clear winner in this ideological battle. We've done endless wars for the last 20 years. How's that worked out for us? Total disaster, wasted trillions of dollars. And if some right wingers have now genuinely come to that position, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. That's been our position for 20 straight years at TYT and for progressives. So if they're actually representing their voters, which they are, by the way, where do the voters come out on this? There's no question they're on the populist wing. That's why the populist wing is called the populist wing. So, and on the lives lost, the needless wars. Now, what unites, in our case, progressives that are reasonable and want to look out for the American voters, and the extreme right wing here who I disagree with on every other issue. Matt Gaetz is an otherwise loathsome character, okay? Well, what unites us is that Matt Gaetz doesn't take corporate PAC money. Now, if you take the corporate PAC money, some of that's gonna be Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing and Northrop Grumman, you name it, all the defense contractors, it's some of the top donors. Almost everyone who takes money from those guys, both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, say endless budgets for defense. Manchin said we can't afford 1.75 trillion, and he then turned around and said yes to the defense budget, which in the same time period would be roughly 9 trillion. 9 trillion. He claimed he cared about deficits, doesn't care about any of that. He gave it all to defense contractors who pay him. Joe Manchin's a Democrat and he's corrupt. And by the way, outside of this small populist swing in the Republican Party, the rest of them are corrupt as anyone could possibly be, including Dan Crenshaw, who talks a good populist game, mainly talking about violence and guns and hating the other side, etc. But at the end of the day, he's still the same old neocon that George Bush, Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, all those guys were, and a lot of the never-Trumpers, by the way. And other people in that camp are Tom Cotton, huge neocon, Nikki Haley. We'll get to them in a second. But wait, I'm not done with guys, with people that I can't stand that are right on this issue. Marjorie Taylor Greene, look at this. She says, thank you, Matt Gaetz, for your kind words. Republicans should oppose endless wars, oppose nation building, and oppose needless spending, American lives and treasure all over the world. Trillions of dollars spent in the Middle East in over 20 years for what? Marjorie Taylor Greene, mainly funded by small dollar donors. You might not like those donors, you might think they're nuts, but she's not leaning on corporations, she's leaning on her grassroots. And look at that, she's honest on this issue. Interesting, it's almost as if everyone else is under complete and utter corporate rule and is obviously lying to you. So look, Marjorie Taylor Greene is nuts on other stuff. She's talking about Jewish space lasers and all that insanity, right? But it doesn't mean that corporate rule is awesome and we should have nonstop wars because some right wingers finally agree with us. No, there's a clear right and wrong here. So now let's break it down. So who's on what side? Well, now you've got the populists versus the neocons. Let me show you who's who. On the one side, you got the populists, that's Trump, Gaetz, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Remember, especially when it comes to tax cuts for the rich and corporate giveaways and etc. Those guys are still bad guys. They still do all of that horrible stuff that Republicans do. Yes, in favor of corporate rule, so in that way they're fake populists. But at least on this issue and maybe one or two others, they have an actual genuine populist strain to them. Whereas Crenshaw, Cotton, and Nikki Haley are constantly pushing for war after war after war. Many of them said go back into Afghanistan. They're completely controlled by their corporate donors, including the defense contractors. This is finally in American politics a real difference within one party. And then a couple of quick updates on this. Of course, Liz Cheney, she is on which side? Of course, she's on the neocon side. So Liz Cheney, which by the way, Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leadership now love, because they also agree with her on endless wars, despite the fact that they say otherwise. I'm telling you, Pelosi and others are liars. And And certainly Biden's record indicates that he voted for all of the wars, including Iraq, Hillary Clinton, same thing, John Kerry, etc. Liz Cheney, now the beloved hero of Democratic leadership, is the same exact position as Dick Cheney, the mother of all neocons. Okay, and finally, these new neocons are replacing the old ones, which are Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and Joe Lieberman. Joe Lieberman was also in the Democratic Party, and but of course was a right-wing neocon through and through. And Lindsey Graham's still around, and of course still in the neocon category. But these new young faces are coming to take their place. But as that great line from the TV show Boss once said, change on the outside, continuity on the inside. So you got different faces, but it's the same old corrupt game to go have our kids get killed in foreign wars so that they can rob us of trillions of dollars. And we are an honest show. So if they are correct about something, I love to point it out. And in this case, some of the worst political actors in the country are actually definitely correct and fighting against the corruption in their own party. Facts.